So thank you all for joining us. My name is Evan Anderson. I'm the current chair of the Historic Preservation Board, Martin County, and want to thank you. I want to start off with just a quick quote, and hopefully I don't mess it up here. Is it not cruel to let our city die by degrees, stripped of all her proud monuments, until there will be nothing left of all her history and beauty to inspire our children? If they are not inspired by the past of our city, where will they find the strength to fight for her future? That was a quote by Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis as she was trying to fight for to save the Grand Central Terminal. And so thoughts like those and people like her are why we do what we do and why we have what we have. And so we all care very deeply about maintaining our history and saving buildings and saving the way that we live and all of the things that surround us. That's why we're all here. And so thank you for joining us. I'm the chair of the board now, the Historic Preservation Board in Martin County. We don't have a great deal of power and we don't have a great deal of influence, but we work hard to recognize people and places who contribute to our community, and we try to do our part to save the buildings and the things and the places that we love and that have turned Stewart, Martin County, Port Salerno, all of these wonderful places into what they are today. That's why people want to move here. So it's even more important now to save what we have than it has been in the past, as you all recognize the development and everything that's going on. So quickly, I'd like to just recognize we do have a couple of local dignitaries in the room. If you don't mind standing, we have Sarah Hurd with us, who's our commissioner. And she does a great deal for us, and we'll mention her, or we'll actually let her speak here shortly. And also I'd like to recognize Susan Corris, who is on the CRA. She's the head of the CRA board, and she contributes a great deal as well. So I'm going to hand this off to Rob Steele, who is a board member, and he also does a great deal for historic preservation. He's the president and CEO of the Historical Society, Elliott Museum, Gilbert's Bar, and just is a wonderful person, and I'm going to let you speak now.
So here we are. I'm so glad to be with you, all of you here tonight in this room. It's been my great honor and privilege to serve as the president and CEO of the Historical Society for the last 5 years. And we have discovered on our journey that there are people that live in Martin County that are deeply committed to our history. And I think the most important thing, and I mention this to Sandy Thurlow as I try to every time I see her, many people that are relocating, the ones that were saying, you know, it's a great place to live, but maybe not everybody can come here. But as they come, a lot of them are migrating from the Eastern Seaboard, and they're so thrilled to see that we are preserving our history, and they're so acutely interested in it. The books fly off our shelves from people that are relocating here. So we do have support out there, everyone. I'm looking around this room, I feel more like it's a room of a high school prom than a room full of dry and dusty historians. So you guys all look good, but I would expect more hair the color of mine, and I'm just not seeing it tonight. So I'm not at all disappointed about that. But here we are, and we're part of a cause, we're part of a movement to try and keep things around here that are so important to everybody to understand where we came from. And we're trying to do our part, but we're just part of a family here in Martin County. And historians notoriously love to argue with each other and fight with each other and do all that. And I'm looking around the room, I'm seeing a few little corners of the mouth turning up, and everybody knows, yeah, I know what he's talking about. But all in all, we're all in the same canoe. We're all paddling in the same direction. We want to make sure that there's something left to talk about that was so important here. And the history is fascinating. I want to credit last year's winner, Lloyd Jones. When I first met him, I said, well, you know, Lloyd, Florida's history is kind of short and sweet and everything. He said, he stopped me dead in my tracks and turned me on another track to understand our history is ancient archaeologically and in every other aspect. So let's stick together. This is a full house tonight, and we're starting to see that more and more. So I feel like the worm has turned, and we're starting to head in a direction where people understand and cherish and realize that if we don't get this done right now, nobody else is going to follow in our tracks and do it because it's all going to be gone. So let's stay together in all of this to the best of our ability.
Good evening. Thanks for inviting me here tonight. In 2003, Martin County Board of County Commissioners created the Historic Preservation Board in order to memorialize the importance and the permanence of our historical locations and buildings here. In 2013, the Salerno Colored Schoolhouse was placed on our local historic register. In the heart of the Great Depression in about 1934, the New Monrovians built this school so that their children could be educated in racially segregated Florida. That school educated African American students from grades 1 through 6 for 3 decades. It was destroyed by hurricanes in 2004, but was lovingly and accurately restored by Martin County in 2012. It's the only one-room schoolhouse remaining in Martin County. Through Lloyd Jones' tireless efforts, we hope to open that piece of history to all as a permanent museum. Martin County has placed on its local register of historic places valuable historic treasures like the Salerno Colored Schoolhouse, the House of Refuge, the mansion at Tuckahoe, the log cabin, the Captain Sewell House, and the only remaining 2-room schoolhouse in Martin County, the Apollo School. Which brings me to this evening's deserving honoree, Kathy Spurgeon. She has spent decades working with her foundation to raise money and public awareness to save and preserve the historic Apollo School in Hobe Sound. When you look up people saving places in the dictionary, Kathy's photo is right there. Thank you, Kathy.
And thank all of you for coming tonight. This is our 15th year, the Martin County Historic Preservation Board's 15th year of organizing Historic Preservation Month. And as Commissioner Hurd pointed out, this year the theme is people saving places. And there is nobody that I know that fits that better than Kathy Spurgeon. She is one of the first people I met when I got on the Historic Board in 2005. Commissioner Hurd appointed me. And the Apollo School was just undergoing restoration, and now it's also beautifully restored. But I'm here tonight to just talk a little bit about Kathy. She arrived in Martin County in 1945. She attended Hobe Sound Elementary School, Stewart Junior High School, Martin County High School class of 1962, and graduated from the University of Florida in 1966. She's the founder and president of the Apollo School Foundation, Emeritus Director of the Hobe Sound Community Chest, member of the Martin County Library Board of Trustees, member of the Florida Historical Commission from 2018 to 2020, and past member of the Hobe Sound Advisory Committee. The Apollo School, that beautiful building, which the finished building there, it was beautiful even when it was old, when it wasn't finished. But in 2002, it was actually put on the National Register of Historic Places as the Olympia School, which was its name at that time. And it's the only place so designated in Hobe Sound. It was added to the Martin County Register of Historic Places by our Preservation Board on March 9th, 2015. Now for the schoolhouse story. The historic schoolhouse was built circa 1924. It was used as a school until 1962, when the school population was too great for an 1,800 square foot building. No longer a school, it was used as a thrift shop by the Hobe Sound First Aid Squad. After the thrift shop closed, the building's inhabitants were the trees that grew in its stucco, the bees that swarmed under its roof, and the vandals that desecrated its interior. When it became evident to Kathy that her former school was in a pool of properties to be sold, she contacted the owner to ask that the building be saved. According to Kathy, it was one of Hobe Sound's oldest buildings and certainly is an architectural example of an era that Hobe Sound was leaving in the rearview mirror. As historical architect Rick Gonzalez has said, in fact, he said it just when Kathy and I were at the same lecture the other day, once it's gone, it's gone. So permanent. Kathy was adamant that a building that played an important role in the community and for the community's children not be gone. So the Kathy saga began in 1999 with the organization of the Apollo School Foundation. No grass grew under their feet. In 2000, the foundation purchased the former two-room schoolhouse in Hobe Sound with funds for the purchase from an anonymous donor. An extraordinary event, and it even inspired an editorial in the Stuart News. Then came the rehabilitation. In rehabbing the building, the foundation kept much of the original features, as well as the Dade County pine floor. On March 29, 2014, I still have the article. The headline in the TC Palm read, "Apollo School Restored to Former Glory After 13 Years of Hard Work." But as all place savers out there know so well, the work was not over. Today, 25 years later, Kathy and the foundation are still going strong. The building is a community hub. It's now used for cultural, educational, and historical purposes and events. It houses book clubs, lectures, and even a lending library. Visitors enjoy visiting a building from yesteryear, a 2-room, 5-grade that the foundation is proud to open as they can. The Apollo School future is bright thanks to Kathy and a dedicated, loyal board of directors and a group of volunteers and helpers they call the Friends of the Apollo. I like that. All of whom are determined that this building will never be gone. As a result of the efforts of Kathy Spurgeon and the Apollo School Foundation that is so dedicated to preserving our past, the 2-room Apollo School in Hobe Sound will continue to tell the story of its pioneers for generations to come. The lovely bronze plaques that adorn it, symbolizing its placement on the National Register of Historic Places and the Martin County Register of Historic Places, are symbols of the energy and capital, probably sometimes tears, that Kathy and her organization have invested in the preservation of one of Martin County's most important local treasures. For as long as I have known Kathy, which dates back to 2005 when I was first appointed to the board, she has been working on preserving the Apollo School. Our thanks go out to Kathy and the Apollo School Foundation for making Martin's rich history so much richer. Thank you all.
Well, those of you, and I know there's a lot in this room that know Kathy Spurgeon, and we all who know her know she's very stubborn, and she never gives up. And the thing about that is the Hobe Sound community, we're very happy for that because she restored the Apollo School. She's been committed and devoted to the preservation of Apollo School since 1999. Fortunately for Kathy's lifelong devotion to Hobe Sound community, she was approached, and I might have a little different story, by Nathaniel Reed, representing the Hobe Sound Land Company when his family was preparing to sell all of that property in the Zeus Park, which included Apollo School. He wanted to see if she had any interest in preserving this historic building that she had attended school herself when she was a child. An anonymous donor was found to cover the purchase price of the building, and if Kathy had not stepped forward, she would not, and started the Apollo School Foundation, its history and this building would be gone. And more than likely, right now, there'd be 20 townhomes in that area. Kathy devoted the past 25 years of her life to rehabilitating this dilapidated building, which at the time of purchase, it did have a tree growing through the north wall of it. And a lot of neighbors even called it the scarecrow. I'd also like to read a quote from Nathaniel Reed's book, A Different Vision. Kathy spends the rest of her time and energies overseeing the rehabilitation of the historic Olympia School, also known as Apollo School in Hobe Sound. With creative local fundraising efforts and dogged persistence, she is literally rebuilding board by board the old school. Kathy's persistence and tenacity in fundraising, and I have to just add one of the very creative ways she did many years ago, I know she's looking at me, for fundraising was that she donned a 1920s bathing suit, sold tickets to the community so that they could dunk her in a dunk tank. So, I mean, talk about creative fundraising. That's one I'll never forget. And also her great writing skills. She wrote grants to underwrite most of the cost of the renovation of the building, which did come to fruition in 2014 when the doors of the schoolhouse were reopened. Now, Kathy and the Historic Apollo School Board are getting ready for the celebration of the 100th anniversary of the Apollo Schoolhouse. Our community is so fortunate to have such a piece of history preserved in our neighborhood, and one that houses a historical museum, cultural arts, and is an educational facility. You see the community enjoying this facility at our annual speaker series, bi-monthly book club, historic buildings tour, open houses, art exhibits, and our annual Christmas tree lighting. Oh, and by the way, too, we have live music events, and if you're not busy this Saturday, the 25th at 3 p.m., Bach Children's Music School will be having their spring recital at our building. Apollo School is a window on the past and a focus on the future. Congratulations, Kathy.
Good evening and good job, Suellen. That was really nice. I'm Laura DeJohns. Those of you who don't know me, I am the daughter of Kathy Spurgeon. And I am here not giving a speech that I prepared. My 7th grade teacher, Phyllis Parker, prepared a speech and couldn't be here tonight. So much like she did 35 years ago, she gave me an assignment. And I'm going to do my best to do her honor. There's one change I'm making in the speech. It's very hard for me to call her Kathy, so I'll be saying Mom in place of Kathy. So congratulations, Mom. You are so deserving of this recognition, and I'm pleased to participate in this presentation, and so is Mrs. Parker. Mrs. Parker has known Mom since I and my brother were in elementary school with her children. I've known my mom since I was born. And my mom's connection to Martin County is even deeper than that. She has been part of the county since the 1940s. And she attended middle and high school in Martin County and has continued to give back by helping organize high school reunions for her class of Martin County High School. It was mentioned she went to University of Florida and majored in journalism and did work during her college years at the Stuart News under the editorship of Ernie Lyons. Several years later, she founded and operated her own secretarial service called Sound Secretarial Service, and her work as a business owner, a mom, a wife, and a volunteer all kept her involved and knowledgeable in Hobe Sound and the Martin County community. Grounded in this county for most of her life, it's no wonder that she's passionate, outspoken, stubborn about things going on in Martin County. She's passionate about saving historic lands and sites and helping people learn and understand that these sites create a connection with our area's rich history and culture. 25 years ago, when Mom decided to concentrate her time not only on her family, but also on the Apollo School, she became the president and founder of the Apollo School Foundation, which she remains today. Her efforts to restore the schoolhouse were supported by my dad and the community and the county in which we live, and it took over a decade to get that work done. And this project, near and dear to her heart, has created a living museum for all to enjoy today, and we hope you will visit and learn more about the Apollo School. On a personal note, Mrs. Parker wanted to acknowledge that my mom laboriously edited a book for Mrs. Parker entitled The Pine School, Our First 50 Years. And the book covers the history of the school, previously known as St. Michael's in Stuart, and now known as the Pine School. The school is currently housed on 142 acres that are historically significant in Hobe Sound. The book also contains much Martin County history from the late 60s to 2019 as the school grew and prospered. My mom has mentioned more than once that she does see that book in the Hobe Sound Library in the Florida section, and that's where she does happen to also volunteer because she's a trustee of the Martin County Library Board and they meet there regularly. As an ardent follower of Martin County's commission, my mom is committed to saving our county's resources and the connections we have to our past. Buildings, parks, and undeveloped land are all witnesses to the aesthetic and cultural history of our county, and these important features give us all a sense of place and pride and a visual connection to our past, which we cannot lose. Thank you so much for recognizing my mom for her decades of work in this county. She is most deserving. Congratulations.
Greetings to our distinguished guests and Kathy Spurgeon's friends and neighbors. What a glorious day to celebrate. Recently, I ran into a friend at a party. We chatted about places we love. She mentioned that she came to Hobe Sound as a baby. Her father purchased property on Jupiter Island and built a home for his family. He bought the house from Sears. Suddenly, just a few years later, her dad had to begin building again after losing their home to the hurricane of 1949. Slightly older, but much wiser, he used concrete blocks that he purchased locally for the foundation. As she told me this story with her singular wry smile, I had a few thoughts. The first thing that struck me was that architectural standards that inform construction on Jupiter Island have changed quite a bit since World War II. The second thing I realized is that once upon a time, even though you could get anything in the world from Sears, doing so might not be the way to go. Then I imagined how an occurrence like that might affect and ultimately inspire someone to not let an old building filled with meaning and purpose go gently or suddenly into that good night. That friend I am referring to is today's honoree, Kathy Spurgeon. Kathy, as most of you know, is a well-known champion of many initiatives that enrich our community. In this case, Kathy worked with her characteristic, multifaceted aptitude to not only save the Apollo School in Hobe Sound, but also return its nascent dignity to both the building and, by extension, the community by collaborating with other dedicated participants to accomplish the goal of preserving and responsibly restoring the school. Which brings us to the subject at hand, honoring preservationists. Saving a beautifully built two-room schoolhouse would be reason enough to celebrate. But the Apollo School hasn't just been a school. Long ago and far away, January 10th, 1925 to be exact, the Hobe Sound Community Presbyterian Church was formed but had no sanctuary to call its own. So the church is proud to recognize the Apollo School as its inaugural place of worship. And over the course of many decades, when necessity dictated, this two-room beauty seamlessly rose to every occasion until it closed. That might have been a sad ending to an otherwise lovely legacy. Happily, however, this didn't happen thanks to Kathy's vision in creating the Apollo School Foundation. Today, it's still the case that we meet down at the schoolyard for book talks, speaker series, musical events, and even fish fries. We in Hope Sound feel truly blessed to have such a gem right in our community's backyard. If you haven't done so, I strongly encourage you to visit the Apollo School so that you can experience Hope Sound hospitality at its best. Buildings are seen as lasting structures that house our ephemeral moments. Hopes, dreams, laughter, and tears appear and disappear as part of our daily lives. Once experienced, these occurrences live within us always. Some are latent, some become our touchstones. And those of us who are lucky to recall a cherished building, such as a two-room schoolhouse, recognize that every preserved building is a gift that keeps on giving. For even if it isn't your schoolhouse, just being inside allows the mind's eye to recall facets of one's own personal history. By enabling these connections, we can see that affecting preservation is a gift to all and sundry that has untold benefits. Historic buildings are memory's sacred spaces. And a generally accepted truth is that behind every well-preserved building, be that structure great or small, there is a great woman. That said, we owe a debt of gratitude to Kathy Spurgeon, who helped give our community a timeless gift right here in Martin County by working to preserve the Apollo School, once used for both scholarship and worship. Congratulations to this year's honoree, Kathy Spurgeon. This is a well-deserved tribute.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. By the way, I'm another Hope Sound person. Yeah, Kathy and I and Jim and all of us. Is Jim here tonight? There he goes. Okay, good deal, man. Good to see you. Well, let me start out. I thought I'd maybe write out a script tonight. If I don't, I'll probably be all over the place, and we'll be here for a lot longer than was expected. So I just want to start and say, Martha Mead said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." My friends, the spirit of history needs our help. Mahatma Gandhi said, "The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others." I want each of you to think for a moment about what you can do to help preserve our historic buildings, our cemeteries, arts and culture, and our bonita landscapes. They are so beautiful here in Martin County. Presenting Kathy this award does not mean her work is done, Kathy. You're not finished. Okay. Nor does it mean my work is finished. Recognizing Kathy's accomplishments is a signal that there is plenty of work to be done. However, my friends, we have a shortage of workers out there. I have a great deal of respect for the Martin County Historic Preservation Board, who is a handful of volunteers whose sacrifices made the ideal of historic preservation a reality. And I thank all of you for once again coming out each year to support our growing list of preservationists. Thank you, Martin County Historic Preservation Board, for presenting Kathy Spurgeon with this award that represents her timeless commitment to serving our community. Kathy has demonstrated for decades, time and time again, the qualities of a preservationist. awareness, compassion, passion, determination, unlimited energy, and a soft heart. Kathy is someone I describe as having a perpetual philanthropic spirit. Kathy, by accepting this award, we know that you are still committed to keeping our history relevant. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you our 2024 Preservationist, Mrs. Kathy Spurgeon.
I do want to thank you all so much for coming. I don't know if I'd like that girl that everybody talked about, the last three speakers, but I'm going to get used to being around her, and maybe things will go better. I started this organization, the Apollo School Foundation, in 1999. Bill Clinton was the president. Martin County had about 40,000 fewer residents than it has today. And Sarah Hurd was 3 years away from serving on her first term in the county commission, right? Some things change. Sarah hasn't, and I haven't. She's still with the county commission, and I'm still with the Apollo School. I would like to thank the people who are here tonight. I'd like to thank Lloyd Jones first for his nice words and for the presentation. I'd like to thank Suellen and Deborah and my beautiful daughter Laura for their speaking. I'd like to introduce my board members, because without them I would not be here and the Apollo would not be where it is. So when I say your name, would you please stand up? Sue Butler. June Overholt and Russ Overholt. Miriam Holt. There you are. Peggy Wagner. Cindy Fusigna. And my wingman, who's ridden shotgun for me all these years, over 20 years, Suellen Millroy. Suellen is coming to the end of her tenure at the Apollo School, I'm sorry to say. I don't know if one retires from an unpaid, unsolicited, 49-hour-a-day job, or if you resign, or if you just run away. But Suellen's going to do one of those things, and we're going to miss her desperately. So good luck, Suellen, and know that the 21 years you spent at Apollo is very, very much appreciated. I'd also like to note the former board member, Bob Steiner, who's one of your county people. Had it not been for Bob, we wouldn't be where we are in the building. Bob, would you stand up, please? And I'd like to recognize the spouses, the husbands, the wives, and the children of all of the board members who have sacrificed so much because I make the board members work so hard. Somebody has called me a control freak. I don't know why. All I did is I wrote the speeches today and asked them to read them. I mean, that's not controlling, is it? Right? No. I'd like to thank my family, my husband Jim, who's right there alongside me. Who, with my son Mark, are the yard people, among other things. And my daughter Laura, who helps me dress for these occasions. I'd also like to just say hello, and would everybody from Hobe Sound please stand up? Yeah. These are my peeps. These are my people, and this is why I do what I do. I'm not going to go into too much more because we've sat now and listened for a while, but I said this May the 1st, when Heritage Month kicked off, and I say it again, preservationists are saving the world one building, one book, one picture at a time. Let's just do what we can do, think what we're doing is right and just, and keep doing what we're doing. Thanks very much.